Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us in today's session, using generative AI to grow in financial services. I'm John Kane. I lead the market development efforts for AWS and financial services. Myself and my team have the pleasure of working with our customers, really helping their industry-specific adoption of AWS and our partners to kind of help drive their business outcomes. And today, and hopefully for some of you, this is a little bit of deja vu. It was only last year that 6 months after we announced the general availability of Bedrock, I had the pleasure of having 3 customers come up with me and share how they were moving ahead with generative AI in a production manner, really sharing insights what drove their adoption from an industry perspective. All of them building on a solid base of data foundations, and then Sun Life sharing with us how they used AWS programs like our experience-based accelerators or prototyping teams to figure out how to determine the ROI of internal business applications, drive prototypes to confirm them, and actually get to market more quickly. I was also joined by Verafin, who showed in the compliance space how generative AI could be used in document summarization, driving down the time it takes for researchers to actually investigate fraud, saving over 70% of the time a researcher would take in actually doing those challenges. More importantly, they showed the value of model choice in driving ROI. They specifically showed the flexibility of Bedrock being able to test different models to drive different economics and get different outcomes. And then NatWest shared how they were actually using generative AI to do personalized marketing to customers, specifically on retail banking accounts, driving higher click-through rates and higher conversion rates. And probably as importantly, showcase the first real examples of using generative AI to check generative AI, creating a pipeline to drive down false positives and hallucinations within results, but probably equally importantly, being able to make sure it conformed to corporate messaging. Now, I only share this as a baseline because there's been a lot going on in the industry. And from a value proposition perspective across financial services, there are a couple of key areas that we've since seen at reInvent and since that have been real business value to the financial services industry. Certainly, everything with RAG patterns to do knowledge management, like the New York Stock Exchange or line data, taking very complex documents and allowing typical analysts to get real insights from that data. Imagine you're an insurance company doing complex claims for insurers. The ability to understand what a policy covers, what it doesn't, really drives efficiency. Increasingly, though, we saw even more sophisticated use cases from that. On the compliance side, we've seen automation in that area dramatically drive down the cost of human time in each of those processes, where Genpact and NASDAQ showed anywhere from 33 to 60% time savings in that. At the call center side, actually being able to drive insights into interactions with your customers has been one of the most impactful use cases across the industry. And then one of my favorites, the ability to do data transformation from an ETL perspective. Having generative AI write those initial rules to transform data, explain what those data transformations are, and allowing for the complex onboarding of customers in a matter of weeks instead of months. Now, those, relatively speaking, a year ago were actually pretty straightforward from a generative AI perspective, right? We were looking at how we could use RAG patterns to better access enterprise data, how we can use that same summarization capability to allow researchers to drive more efficiency in their own business process, and then how to tailor communications for individuals, for relatively simple accounts. A year later, and what my speakers will talk to you today about is how much we've changed our scope of what we think is possible using generative AI. We'll discuss how you can actually build an investment research assistant that can take complex ideas and actually break those down into more agentic workflows to drive real insights to the market. Where NatWest last year talked to us about how do we do an individual retail product, we'll hear how you can actually think about that from an institutional perspective. How do you understand what a business needs and how to engage it more effectively across a wide variety of products? And then not just getting insights into historic data, but how do we actually do that in a real-time manner, getting insights from generative AI at the moment you need them. And as we think about sort of what the future of generative AI looks like, you're going to hear and see some of that future on stage today. You'll understand the benefit of breaking down larger processes into smaller ones that can be driven by agents and tools to drive more effective results. Increasingly, you'll see the opportunities to do multimodal type of models, not just text, but other media, and the importance of actually looking at the right model for the right task, whether that's a large language model using generative AI, or if that's a traditional model. Pipelines that are most successful today do that mix of both and drive that efficiency. And what we won't talk as much today about, but that underlines all of this, is all the policies, governance, and transparency that make things successful in financial services. So today, I'll be joined by Aaron Linsky, the CTO of AIA Labs at Bridgewater, Tetsuo Horigane, who's head of quant innovation at MUFG, and Sonny Falk, who's the SVP and head of AI innovation and technologies at Crypto.com. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Aaron to the stage to discuss what his firm has been doing.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm Aaron Linsky, CTO of AIA Labs at Bridgewater Associates, and I'm excited to talk to you all about some of what we've been building for the past 18 months using generative AI. Before I get into that, I do want to talk about who Bridgewater is. So Bridgewater's been around for almost 50 years now. But for that entire time, we've had one fairly simple mission, and that's to build and maintain the best understanding of markets and economies in the world. We then take that understanding and generate positions in markets, so go long US stocks or short Japanese bonds. And then lastly, we partner with our clients, which are primarily endowments, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, beyond just our positions, to help them with their entire portfolio. At a high level, we do this using the process on the right and left. So this is what we call a research circle. We can really start at any point here, but I'll start at perceive. And the perception can come from anywhere. It can come from reading a newspaper article. It can come from a big market movement. It can come from looking at our returns and seeing unexpected gains or losses. We then hypothesize. We think, why would that be? What are the cause-effects relationships that we were missing that caused us to have some perception of or some surprise? We then perform an investigation. We take that hypothesis and go to data. And we write code to test out that relationship and ensure that it exists in the way that we think throughout time and countries. We then synthesize that and provide insights into whether we should be changing our signals or possibly just writing a research report, or possibly there wasn't the relationship that we hypothesized, and instead we just kind of put that in the freezer to come back to later. And so that's Bridgewater's mission, Bridgewater's process. And we've been using that process for the past 50 years to create a very complex and impactful expert system. It started as rules on a notepad, graduated to Excel, and is now running on EKS and various other AWS services. All right, so what's AIA Labs? AIA stands for Artificial Investment Associate, and I'll get to that in a second. But first I want to tell you about how we started. So about 2 years ago, we pulled together a group of investors, data scientists, and technologists to rethink how Bridgewater understands markets and economies using AI and ML first. We're still seeking to form the best understanding of how this economic machine works. We're just using different and more tools, and we're also changing how we're going around this research circle. Our approach to this is founded in these three elements. Number one, we need everything grounded in causal relationships. We believe that causal relationships are what drive markets, and we can't be trading on relationships that just happen to exist in the data. Second, we need it to be diagnosable at every turn to allow for correct oversight or reasonable oversight and feedback from our humans. And lastly, just like our human investment associates, we need it to be self-improving. This is a very competitive industry, and we need to continue to evolve, and we need AI itself to evolve itself. So now I'm going to talk about what we've been building. When we started this journey in the spring of 23, and we probably had similar questions to all of you of just how good are these models? Are these models going to be replacing our investment associates? Are they going to replace a first year? Can they do what third years do? Is our chief investment officer in trouble? Pretty quickly, we realized that we're a far ways off from LLMs replacing our analysts. Even if you ask it a simple question, it's not going to approach the comprehensiveness and precision of our humans. We also pretty quickly found that if we provide the LLMs with some structure, a set of chain questions to answer, we're able to get something back that was actually fairly useful. Models in 23 and even today aren't great at reasoning and aren't great at planning, but providing this plan, which we call a blueprint, we're able to address that key weakness. In doing this as well, we learned that that our best prompt engineers weren't the developers on the team, they were the subject matter experts, they were the analysts, the investment associates themselves. And so we spent a fair amount of effort creating interfaces for them to directly interact with the model and iterate quickly. This right here is one of the blueprints that was created by our investment associates, and it answers any question about our portfolio. If you ask it about how you form this question here is how do you form your Japanese yen position, you could also ask, what is your Japanese position today and why? You could also ask, what is your South African equities position? And that's something we don't trade, and it will tell you we don't trade that, and I have no clue. So I'm going to quickly go through the response here. Basically, as it goes through those 14, there's 14 different questions there. It's calling out to databases. Sometimes it's calling to our actual positions. And it's synthesizing information to pull together a pretty good response that you'd be happy with getting from a first-year analyst. So you don't need to know anything about our systems in order to ask useful information. And at the bottom, we have interactive charts. This is still just output. It's not that the LLMs are immediately creating these charts. These charts existed, but the LLMs are able to go ahead and find charts that are relevant for the particular question that you're asking. And so this was great. This was a good start, but it's not really where we want to end up. So the blueprints helped us go from synthesize to learn. Where we want to end up is having Aya be able to go around the entire circle. And so given basically any topic or profession, perception, we want Aya to propose a relationship, find data, perform an analysis on that data, usually by coding, synthesize the results of that relationship, and update the initial proposal relationship. I'll show how that works in a minute. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the actual architecture here. So this is our multi-agent architecture. There's a lot of different agents on the board, but I'll go through everything, and it's actually a little bit simpler than it looks. We found today that limiting the breadth of responsibilities for any given agent is really important and very helpful in improving the overall quality of the system. It is possible that in the future, you might be able to have a single LLM agent with access to a lot of tools and a complicated prompt that gives a similar result. But today, adding all of that to one LLM call is just beyond the capabilities of the models. So there, as I said, there's a lot on the board here, but I'll go through everything. Each one of these agents has its own set of tools that it can call. Sometimes those tools are shared, like get conversation history. Sometimes they're unique to the individual agent. And every agent also has a prompt. And so we've spent a fair amount of time with each agent tuning that prompt to give us the results that we're looking for. So now let's go through the flow. User question comes in. That is initially given to the planner. What the planner does is it has a set of existing plans, basically questions and the plans that were approved. And it goes and looks up basically any similar questions to the one that was just asked and returns those plans. So that's called, it could be called instruction retrieval. But that's very helpful in getting the planner to output a reasonable plan within the bounds of the capabilities of our agents today. If you just ask it to give you a plan, it might give a reasonable plan, but it also might give a plan that is completely impossible to execute on. So next, that plan is passed over to the supervisor. The supervisor is now in control and will execute through the plan, going to each agent, sub-agent, in turn. It's sometimes possible that one of those sub-agents changes, basically invalidates the plan. And in those cases, the supervisor will either go back to the planner to replan, or they will just kind of improvise a bit. Generally, that actually works really well, and when our supervisor chooses to improvise, we find that generally it makes some reasonable assumptions. Basically, the models are getting pretty good. All right, so just one more slide before we get into the demo showing that in action. So this is our architecture. We found it to be a great platform for iterating on and deploying our Gen AI applications. We've been building with Amazon for over a decade now and have had systems running on EKS basically since its launch. And so we've built on top of those core services, but we've also found great utility in other higher level services like Amazon Textract. And then lastly, as I'm sure you're all well aware, Bedrock has been a key enabler for our Gen AI capabilities, providing world-class models with AWS's security and operational guarantees. All right, so now on to the demo. So the question that we're going to ask is, how do changes in short-term interest rates influence growth and inflation? What are the subsequent effects on equity and bond market returns? This question is something that we would ask of an investment associate, and it's not entirely straightforward. Sometimes short-term interest rates will impact growth. Other times, the Fed will change short-term interest rates in response to growth slowing down or inflation being too high. All right. Okay. So here we have our multi-agent interface. It's kind of tough for you to see in the audience, but I'll describe it and walk through everything. Right now, you're seeing 2 panes. We actually have 4 panes in total, but I'll talk about the other 2 in a second. On the right is the plan. And so this was the plan that was generating using that instruction retrieval to answer this question. We've never asked Aya this question in the past, but we have asked Aya similar questions about various concepts and relationships. And so it came up with a 6-step plan, and I'll go through each of those steps as we walk through the execution here. On the left is the response by Aya and basically the question that we had just asked on the top. As we walk through, if this were live, it would be streaming in the answer as it's working through everything, and everything would work in something like 2 to 5 minutes. There's 2 more panes that are not shown here, which are important to the user experience. One is a critique pane. And so we have an ability to, at any point in time, give feedback to the agent as it's operating to either correct a bad step or say the entire plan is bad or just nudge it in the right direction. That's very helpful in the cases where it's almost right but not perfect, and that's often. We also have a code execution pane. And so anytime one of these agents creates code, it ends up in the code execution pane, and that is directly editable by the users. There's many times where you might just want to change one thing, or there's just a small error, and helping it out a bit and being able to manually just interject has been a pretty helpful feature for our end users. All right, so the first question is create a causal map in GraphViz that outlines basically the concepts that we're talking about. And so this causal map is generated directly by the agent. It's not going to any of our data. It's just coming from the training set of this agent happens to be based on 3.5 Sonnet. And it's able to write a pretty good causal map. Like, this map is definitely better than what I would write in 10 minutes, and it wrote this in 10 seconds. And so from here, we're going to look at these nodes, and the next agent that's up is the data finder. So it's going to look at all these nodes and look in our own database for representative time series. And so you can see here that it found 5 different time series. We have an expanded view right here where we're showing more of the details And sometimes we'll find a series that is close but not exact. And so, for instance, we're asking about inflation. Inflation is just the change in CPI. It found CPI, and it just tells the coder that it has to do a small transformation. This is something that you would teach a first-year analyst, and this is the system just understanding that. So the next step is it now passes that data onto the coder. The coder is coding up a correlation study. This isn't literally something that we would do at Bridgewater, but it's close enough to our workflow, and it's representative and something that I could share publicly. But the output of it is some relationships that it's found in the data, and it actually has the work to prove it. Next, what it'll do is take those strongest relationships and create a chart showing the two series that are most highly related, and it will also create another chart showing the market returns of the two markets that we had asked about. And then lastly, it goes back to the market analyst to update its understanding. So this is a much smaller causal map than before, but this causal map is also backed up with data. And this is much closer to what we would expect out of an actual investment associate than what we've been able to produce with a simple back and forth with a model. All right. So that's where we are today. Good progress from the blueprints of last year, and we're on the path towards full agentic workflows. We're definitely not replacing our investment associates with the capabilities right now, but it is helping to speed along their progress. And then at Bridgewater, we're known for feedback and reflection, so I figured I'd leave you all with some of my thoughts of building in this space for the past 18 months. And so the first thought is, as we all know, LLMs are far from perfect. But if we rely on their strengths and build or buy crutches for where they're weak, we find that we can get a lot of value out. And so blueprints and instruction prompting or instruction retrieval are two such examples. Next, it's really valuable to get users close to the models. Not only are they better prompt engineers, but their familiarity with the outputs of the models actually helps them use them better. If they're just seeing an output and have no clue why it got to there, they can't help as much as they can if you're exposing that logic to them. Next, this is our strategy. It's not necessarily for everyone, but as I'm sure some of you are struggling with, I definitely struggle with, there's just constant innovation in this space, and it's tough to keep up with everything. The fact is, there are so many problems, and we love to use basically what you and your companies are providing when you provide those things, and we're trying to focus only on the tools that we need for our own data and our own workflows, and we try to spend most of our time and effort building for that. And then lastly, knowing your goal, and this is true, for any technology, but if you don't know what you want, it's going to be very tough to build the right thing. And we've found that building evals early is exceptionally helpful. Not only does it help you measure progress as you're building, but also once your systems are in production, it helps ensure that they're performing as expected, and these systems are not like the systems of even 5 years ago. So anyways, I hope you all were able to take something away from the last quick overview of some of our developments in Gen AI over the past 18 months. There's a lot to build and assemble, and I'm always looking for partners to help us build out Aya's capabilities. So if you think there's a conversation to be had, please reach out. Thank you.
Aaron, thank you very much. And as Aaron and I talked after I heard his presentation for the first time, it's important to realize that that human element of human intelligence is critically important to driving the success of these. The causal relationship map that was strictly generated by the large language model is super impressive, but the actual planning and the plan model that went into breaking down the original prompt is really driven by insights from human analysts. And that's important to be successful in these days, is make sure you've got that tight coupling between the industry experts as well as the technology experts to bring things. And you'll hear that a bit in Horigani's presentation. Horigani, if I could ask you to come to the stage, please.
So thank you everyone for choosing our session. And thank you, John, for a great introduction and invited me to an honorable event. So my name is Tetsuo Horigane, and I lead an AI ML team in MUFG Bank. Today, I'm very excited to share MUFG story, how we transform corporate sales activities through GenAI technology. We're a commercial bank, and to be a successful salesperson, it requires extensive data analysis and year-on-year experiences. This limits our accessibility to corporate clients. Here, we apply GenAI technology to make such a process efficient, scalable, and proactively evolvable. In fact, we found that we can increase lead generation by 10 times. It's quite a huge number, right? And we made this just this year. I'm going to share how we did it and also make some demonstration how our salesperson's daily life is transformed based on GenAI platform. I hope my story inspires your GenAI journey, so let's get started. So first start with MUFG is. So MUFG stands for Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, and this is the largest financial group in Japan, and we are operating in global over 50 countries, and also have over 100 years of history. And honorably, we have so many individual customers and so many corporate clients and employees. Today, I'm going to concentrate on global capital markets business, and there we have 2,000 employees facing 1 million corporate clients. Then, before diving into the GenAI, let me share also our technology journey. Since 2016, we declared the cloud-first strategy, and we are shifting so many workload and data into cloud, especially in AWS. In 2021, we launched an in-house AI and ML team to accelerate the productionized AI and ML model to our business. Actually, we are happy to release dozens of products based on SageMaker on AWS, and then also build an MLOps platform on SageMaker. To be honest, I'm very surprised and I'm very happy to hear today's keynote that AWS also invests the SageMaker to reinvent such tools. Anyway, move on to the GenAI. So after the merger of GenAI technology 2023, we're also advancing the usage of GenAI internally, and today I'm going to share how we transform corporate client sales activities. So let me clarify the use cases and challenges we are facing. So our clients, whatever businesses they are running, SaaS-type business or traditional businesses, they are facing financial market risks. Let me elaborate. For example, if the interest rates goes up, their repayment amount should be goes up, right? And also, once the foreign exchange rate fluctuating, this will affect their products, either export or import. And then it will also affect the final P&L, right? So to control such a risk, clients want to buy some financial products from us. Sorry. The tricky part is that, as in my examples, the financial market risk depends on the future. And then nobody knows what will happen in the future, right? So our clients does not rely on the fancy publicly available review sites or some pop-ups for their purchasing decisions. Instead, our corporate client sales need to prepare separate documents and proposals to understand or to clarify what kind of financial risk individual clients are facing with, and also what kind of risk they should control and what type of product they should apply. This kind of thing consists of two things: client understanding, solution originations. And then to understand the client's situation correctly, we needed to read through several documents, even hundreds and thousands of pages of documents, and it took at most 2 hours, and then it took about several dozens of days, right? And once the data is prepared, we needed several year-on-year experiences to make up some appropriate solutions. And it's highly skill-dependent. So since there is a time-consuming and skill-dependent process there, we want to make it, to some extent, efficient, scalable. based on traditional AI, but it wasn't work well. Because, as you might know, traditional AI is not good at handling the unstructured data, some text data, video, voice, something like that. And since corporate clients' use cases, we don't have much samples, so it's very difficult to train the traditional AI. So here comes the Gen AI. To address such kind of challenges, we decided to utilize Gen AI. Because Gen AI is very good at handling unstructured data, and also have much flexibility, and also have the capability of reasoning. We believe that it might transform our corporate sales activities. And we started our POC this year, and then we built up the Gen AI-based platform, which I will show later. And then that make our process to efficient, scalable, and proactive, adaptable, and it leads the lead generation 10 times. Okay, let me dive in each items. For efficiency, as I previously described, our corporate sales needed to read through hundreds and even thousands of pages of documents manually. And it took sometimes hours and days for them. So here we use the Gen AI technologies to extract the important part from each document and store it in some S3 or some storage. So here I just depicted the case of security reports as just examples. So we're available in PDF format on left-hand side or right-hand side and HTML tag format. So we using both format to extract the relevant part from the data. To be honest, just putting that kind of thing into the LLM with a token cost blows up because the right-hand side, we have so many tags inside and the relevant information is very limited. So in building up the data pipeline, we eliminate irrelevant tags and then make the accuracy about 80 to 90% to extracting such relevant data. Then next comes the scalability. So as we said, once the data is prepared, salespersons needed to integrate individual data into some ideas to present our corporate clients and also to make some solutions to present, right? And this process, it's not shareable, and each individual salesperson puts the logic into their own heads. So it is difficult to share and make it scalable. So here also we come to the flexibility and reasoning capability of Gen AI. So we talked with the salespersons and then build up the project team to building up 100 pages of step-by-step prompts with them. And through the process, we prepare them with a playground with the chatbot behind the scene. We are the Bedrock and the Claude 3.0 Sonnet. And then make them wherever they can access to the Gen AI. Since our sales guys are very busy with that, so such an accessibility is very important to accelerate prompt engineering journey. So once we prepared the data and the prompts, we succeed to reproduce to some extent our salesperson's logic and also the presentation materials. And the final key is adaptability. Since the business is changing so rapidly, the one-time data pipeline and one-time idea is not good enough to be sustainable, right? So running this cycle, we basically taken two data currently. So one is the chat history between the salespersons and the Gen AI. And the other is the actual presentation material presented to our clients and also its feedback. By combining these two things, we are monitoring the deviation from the original AI outputs and the actual presentation material. We check when and how we improve our prompts. In this way, we started this cycle several times to improve the prompts in the Gen AI platforms. So we called it the Gen AI Ops here. Okay. So let me share how we implement these things on AWS. So every story is just put in this very simple architecture. So data extraction is done heavily by SageMaker and Bedrock, and also Claude 3.5 Sonnet. To be honest, we're using the Bedrock batch usage since we needed to handle the bunch of documents And then the batch inference is very cheaper and stable than on-demand requests. And the chat history is stored in DynamoDB, and then also our prompts shared in S3, and our document and proposals shared in S3. We can check the deviation through the SageMakers. Actually, we did this kind of thing a little bit semi-automatically, so human intervention is necessary right now, but we want to make the process as automated as possible and produce as much time for our sales guys to directly deal with our corporate clients. Okay, let me share a demonstration. This is our applications we built and provided to our sales guys. And then, to some extent, we integrated the AI feature and analytic feature on this platform. So let's start. So salespersons, if you want to come up with an idea to present our sales to our clients, choose the company name and choose the analysis type and some perspective. And then they can show at once on the left-hand side AI output you can see. And then we also make it available the prompt so that everyone can understand how the AI understands and how they come to such conclusions. And on the right-hand side, we stored every figures, every document, and then they can access for either number format or in the graph format, whatever. So the bar chart, line chart, whatever they want. So in this way, we integrated the AI and analytics for salespersons in our platform. And if we want to do some further discussion, here I just type could you tell me the trend of the P&L? I made some mistake in spell, but it's okay. And then we put every data in system prompts and then also in the behind the scene, the data storage. This AI can answer correctly about the specific question to our clients over about 10 to 20 seconds to reply the Gen AI. Okay, here it comes. So in this way, they are fine with the result and just copy and paste, or just click the button on the right-hand side, download all. The draft or presentation is created automatically. So in this way, our salesperson just took 1 or 2 minutes to prepare the whole presentations. Just a draft, but previously it took about several hours or even days to do that. Okay, now let's summarize the business outcomes through our journey. So by reducing the time-consuming step to preparing the data and also the skill dependency for ideations and the presentation material creation, we confirmed with actual clients and get the feedback. And then through the dozens and hundreds of companies, we confirmed that we can increase the lead generation by 10 times. At the same time, keep the conversion rate about 30%. It's quite huge, right? Actually, as we said, we started our journey this year and then just build up this application platform within the month. This success is attributed not to only our internal assets, for example, the deeper collaboration with the salespersons and developers, and also the existing experts on cloud and AI, but also to the dedicated support from AWS accounting team, especially ML enablement workshop and prototyping team. Let me take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to them. Thank you so much. No. We don't have the lessons on. Wait a sec. I think I have about 1-2 minutes still. So yeah, finally reflect on the lessons we learned from our journey. So Gen AI comes to the role of transforming corporate sales activities to be more efficient, scalable, and proactively adaptable than ever. And deep collaboration between the business persons and developers is essential. So Gen AI is not to the techie guys, but for everyone. And feedback from the real world drives Gen AI ops. And leveraging AWS managed services make trial and error of Gen AI journey easy, safe, and agile. The progress in Gen AI technology are very rapid, and by starting right now, right here, you can change your business. This event is the best place to start learning, right? I hope your journey also will be fantastic, and I'm very looking forward to hearing your story next time. Thank you. Zafin.
Jorge-san, thank you so much. Both in Jorge-san and Aaron's presentation, looking for insights from data allowed a human to sort of explore data sets, come up with unique thesis, either from an investment perspective or from a sales perspective. But now we're talking something a little different. Sometimes you need to react to changes in the market when they happen, as opposed to waiting to research later. And Sunny will walk us through how Crypto.com is using generative AI in a more real-time manner to see insights into the markets. Sunny, if I could ask you to come to the stage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sunny Fogg, head of the AI innovation technology from Crypto.com. A few months ago, we still deciding which topic to cover. And at that time, the market wasn't so hot. And it turns out that it's an excellent topic today. As everyone trading in a crypto market, they want to find the best trends. They want to capture the wave for their best decisions. So today, I'm going to share with you improving sentiment analysis for localized market insights. So first, we're going to go through what the challenges, what our solution, and how we effectively do it on the AWS, and what did we learn at last. A few facts about Crypto.com. We are a licensed crypto trading platform supporting 400 plus cryptocurrency. Our mission is to accelerate the world's transition to cryptocurrency. We have over 100 million users worldwide, and covering 90 countries and with 25 languages. So our Gen AI innovation journey started from 2023. As I think the same as everyone, we start with playing around prompt engineering, RAG. We apply it to our assistant research, and also kind of tiny bot. We used it in our app to assist our users. And in 2024, we're getting more serious. We play around model fine-tuning. We built the first customer service chatbot to cover our 100 million users. And we use visual content generation for marketing and advertising. And we first built a first model of news sentiment analysis with fine-tuning, which we will cover more. And recently, we deployed the first AI market insights in our platform with news and also technical indicators for our user to make more better judgment. And for on-chain usage, we have AI agent SDK, which help people to manage their wallets without any on-chain knowledge. And we enhance our customer service chatbot with more vision model, with multi-other different new LLM models, and also with Graph RAG, which is the latest technology. And just a few weeks ago, our CEO announced a very exciting and innovative project. It's called Cortex AI. I was told not to expose anything on it, except that it's a combination of all the cool AI stuff that we used, and we put into one single product. Stay tuned for that. So what's the challenges when doing this sentiment analysis? As we know, the news coming from everywhere. So in the traditional platform, in social media, and how do we effectively consolidate them? How to deduplicate them? How to find out which one is more important than the other one? And since these sources has different credibility, so we also need to rank and rate them accordingly. And the outcome accuracy is most important to make the final call of whether this news will impact the market, will move the price, right? So we use multiple LM to achieve this result. So we'll come to that later. So here's a very simple sentiment analysis example. As everyone would do, when we instruct the LM, we give it a role that you are experienced cryptocurrency analyst, and here's the news that we give it to analyze. we asked it to find out, okay, what cons that's the news is about, and what the sentiment it thinks about. Is it a bullish, is it a bearish, or is it neutral? And the outcome, like in example, Galaxy Digital purchased some Bitcoin, and BlackRock CEO saying, okay, the election won't impact the cryptocurrency. So obviously, these are the bullish examples. So that's the example outcome. And what's our solution to this? So as we know, by the time when we do this POC, most of the LLMs are still trained from English content, English data set. So like Llama 3, 95% of its data set are in English. So it's more safe or more reliable if we convert all these different news to a single language. So because in the some of the low caps or mid caps cons, they usually come from localized sources. So we translate them into English, and then we use the BlackRock Amazon Commerce API to try out the translation effect. So we can switch over the other model if we find out the best one to do this job. So here is the core part, where we use the multi-agent consensus seeking flow. Once we have the news feed in English, we input it into a multi-model in parallel and execute the evaluation. So on top one, we use the BlackRock because it's very easy to adopt a new model when it comes out. So this time we use the Claude 3 Haiku. By now, I think we have moved on to 3.5. And then in the middle, that's the key one is the self-trained, self-fine-tuned model. We use a SageMaker to host it, so we can carry in all the subsequent fine-tuning on top, and we can easily deploy the new version. And that will eventually become the leader. And the third one, of course, we use a popular GPT as a reference. So the happy flow is when all this come into consensus, we have a high confidence, so we insert it into the data set. And if there is a divergence, we have some criteria to resolve it. For example, we filter by the credibility of the news source, and we take the majority of the vote. And as time goes on, we have a leader to guide us. It will take more weighting as time goes on. And once we have the data set ready, we feed it back into the fine-tune model. So we did the fine-tune on batch, and we release the new version into the production. So as time goes on, the middle fine-tune model will become more reliable and more confidence. So and it also takes more on the leading role. So here's the outcome. So we achieved 90+% of accuracy with full consensus and majority. And more importantly, we can deliver this in 6 weeks from the POC stage to a full-blown production model. This is not easy, as in the crypto exchange, we have to have very stringent security requirements. So deployment, scaling up, and all this has to be done really quickly to achieve this timeline. And it's also aligned with our company's best practice of releasing feature in weeks and not months to catch the fast-moving crypto market. And the solution doesn't stop there. So we have other potential use case I would like to share. So here's the first one, data-driven upgrade. So as we know, we have new LLM coming out every quarter or even every month in the open source space. So we would like to see what are the potential and how does it enrich the whole result. And not all the LLM have same pre-trained data and same methodology. So not necessarily a new LLM, when you plug in, will have better results. So what do we do? We take the data set we collected and then feed it back to the evaluation process. So we can plug and play. With BlackRock, you can easily change with the other model that we see the performance, if that's a good one. And if you have been playing around with LM, you know that changing simply a version, say from 3.5 to 4 mini, you may need to adjust your prompts, right? Adjust your result as well. So this method helps us to easily evaluate a new model and replace it and go along with the latest model. And another use case is for our leader, right? We chose a small model so that we can easily fine-tune it with low cost. And we chose the number 3 at that time, the AB model, but it's a new model coming out every day, every month. So we use the same method to evaluate what's the next model we want to fine-tune on. So this is the data-driven use case. Another one is more interesting, more exciting is, as we know, in the investment world, we usually look at the technical data. But the crypto world is more driven by market sentiment. What if we combine both together? Just before, in the previous slide, we have already established quite a solid sentiment data. And we also take the market data from the market window, and we can combine them, and we see the whole picture. And we generate the question and answer, so we can explain the story of what's going on in the market versus what's the news come out at the time. So some news we expect to have a high impact. At the end, it doesn't do the movement, the price movement, right? But the other news that come out is actually impact more. So this is a very valuable information we can collect from this exercise. And what's come next is not only the analysis of the past performance, but also what's happening in the next cycle. So as you know, the cryptocurrency go in each cycle. So for example, this bull cycle, so we want to know what news are more impactful, which news will move certain coins in a certain way. So this is a very good reference point to doing this. And this is the actual working diagram that shows us how we use the SageMaker and the Bedrock to achieving what we did. As you guys may have already gone through a lot of SageMaker and Bedrock sections yesterday. I may not go in depth, but this is how we use the SageMaker. So in the whole environment, we set up the Jupyter Notebook, and using the IAM security, we can assign the same group to share the Jupyter Notebook. And we generate the fine-tune instruction and store it in the S3 so we can share. And for the training job, we execute it, and the results are also saved in the S3. At last, after we've done the generation, we can decide which version we want to deploy into the production. And with the help of the SageMaker, we can easily deploy it in a short time. And then it will already live in the production. We can do the inference with the latest trained model. And we also monitor the outcome from the CloudWatch. Okay, so what did we learn from the whole process? First, we normalize all the news into English before we solve the task. And then we use the multi-model, multi-agent consensus workflow to spread out the risk and to reduce subjective result. And we continuously capture the outliner data set and later do the fine-tuning and also evaluate the new models. And we continuously fine-tune the LLMs to improve the task performance. And the whole workflow is not merely for this usage. We also take these pipelines and apply to different use cases, such as we are actually analyzing from the social media, which is even more complex than the news. And the whole Gen AI journey has helped us to improve our productivity and the time to market. I don't know, more, 10 times or even more. Right? Without the Gen AI, I don't think we could do this with this timeline. Okay, so this is that's it for what I want to share with you guys, and hopefully you have the same good AI journey and to produce good products in the future. Thank you very much.
If you could just take one more second and just thank our speakers again, Sunny Horigani-san, Aaron, thank you so much for your time today. We're getting close to our session time, so our speakers will be available after the session just outside the room if you want to have a further conversation. Secondly, I want to thank you for your time today. I know this is a big investment for everyone coming to Vegas and then negotiating all the sessions that are available, so thank you for spending your time with us today. And equally importantly, please use your mobile app, complete the survey form. Your insights and feedback on these sessions allow us to pick and tailor the sessions again for next year, and hopefully to kind of best meet your needs across the industry. And so please take a few extra minutes, let us know what worked, what didn't, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you again for your time.